now it's garbage.
Just another movie night.
Hello and welcome to the show. I am Scott.
And I'm Joe.
And we're just another movie night. And today we are talking trash.
Talking trash.
Talking trash. But today we're changing it up a little bit. I think once in a while we're going to try a little something new with the show. And this week we're going to do a conversation on a movie that I think it's kind of been panned heavily. And I think that it'd be really interesting for us to discuss why was this movie panned and how do we feel about it. So we'll probably do the normal talking trash on talking about the plot and spoiler stuff like that we normally do, but also just have new discussions about what happened and why. Today we're going to be talking about this year 2023's 65.
My name is Mills. I was the pilot of the ship. We've crash landed on an uncharted planet. We are the only survivors. I don't know where we are, but there's something out there. Something alien. We must get to an escape vessel.
Escape pods. Location unknown.
We need to be quiet and move. I need to get us home.
Family.
Ready? Run! Launch the ship!
It's a brand new movie that came out this year that kind of just died suddenly in the movie theater. And it's kind of interesting to talk about because this movie has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 35% from the critics, 65% from the audience, which is actually a little better, a 40% Metascore, an IMDb score of 5.4 from 57,000 reviewers and up. And that's crazy. I think that's some really interesting scores all over the board. This was directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. Now, what's really interesting there is the last movie these two worked on was a movie called Haunt.
Okay.
A horror movie takes place in a theme park, and that's odd that they went from that, which is a very independent horror movie, to a movie that seemingly seems blockbuster-like. Now we just saw this movie, right? Joe, how much do you think this movie cost after watching it?
Okay, well, there's a lot of special effects in this, but I don't think it was so oversaturated. I'm going to say that this movie probably cost, I would say maybe 75 million.
Okay, this is shocking. 45 million.
Oh, okay.
Pretty decent looking. I actually thought this was more of a expensive movie. Now, I guess the big problem is that when you see a movie like these, right? Mm-hmm. You always got to take the budget and then do half of the budget, and that's how much advertising costs. So if you're going to say a movie costs $45 million, you got to assume that they spent $20 million in advertising, and that's never in the budget. You know, that's never told. But advertising costs a lot of money. And I think you agree with me, we saw a lot of trailers for this film.
Yeah, we did. I mean, every time we went to the theater to see a new movie, it was there.
Always there. And now, okay, now the reason I think we're going to talk about this today and the reason we picked this movie is because we passed on it in the theater. And I think a lot of other people did too because it only made 60 million worldwide
That's terrible.
off a 45 million budget. You know, when you do those numbers, you think, well, you know, made a little profit. Not when you count advertising.
Right.
So you would have to definitely probably double to triple your money to ever make a profit. They usually say that you want to make your money back in America, and then everything worldwide, you know, everything from every other country, is your profit. And this movie couldn't even make its money back in America. It had to make money outside. So that's kind of a shame. So I think that's really why we wanted to talk about this, because why after seeing this, right? Now, I guess we should talk, and we originally wanted to kind of do a before and after on this movie as well, but we literally just forgot. We just started watching
We were
the
too
film.
busy eating our corned beef Sammies.
Yes,
It's
we
like,
love
give me
corned
my
beef.
Sammy. I didn't care about anything else. I'm like, feed me.
I've made Joe as Irish, Polish as I can make her. She's
Yeah.
already Polish. You're already Polish.
I
so.
mean, I am half Polish, but I will say that Scott makes these amazing corned beef and Swiss Sammies.
I'm not
and-
doing anything, by the way.
I mean, they're so, it's soul enhancing. So there's like these everything buns. They're like everything bagels, but they're like hamburger buns.
Those things are badass.
And he warms up the corned beef and the Swiss to be like a pile of goo on bread. And it's just, with these buns, like, it's just sexy, okay?
You know,
like,
there's
it's just,
nothing I like more than to hear you talk about buns.
I mean, it's beyond sexy. And those buns are just, I mean, they go to 11, so they won't quit.
A few moments later.
So yeah, that's what
Well,
we were
now
thinking about. I'm thinking
Now that
about
we're off track,
the sexiness. So that's why we didn't do a before and after, because
we wanted to kind of add that into this one because normally on before and after we would see new movies in the theater, and since we basically started now over a year ago doing these reviews, which is crazy, we on our before and afters we'd see brand new movies and kind of talk about them, and a lot of those movies we've had a couple actually go to our Talking Trash episodes. We've actually skipped doing before and after and just put them out as Talking Trash, which I think Halloween
Ends was
Ends
just, it went
was one of the
from a
movies.
before and after to just like a talking trash.
I think Munsters, Munsters as well.
That was talking trash also.
And we're kind of like, you know what? Sometimes it'd be kind of fun just to discuss a movie and discuss what the hell happened with it. So we're gonna like try a couple new things here. So yeah, but we were going to originally do the before, and the reason I wanted to do that was because we had a lot of thoughts when we saw the trailers for this movie. We kept, you know, there's a reason we didn't see it, and I can't speak for you, but my view of the trailer right off the bat was, look, there's two things when you play a video game, right? When you play a video game, there's two things you never want to happen in your video game. One, an escort mission, and two, a fetch quest. And now this preview seemed like an escort mission.
yeah, I
and
hate
I-
escort missions. My person that I'm escorting always freaking gets killed.
Yeah, it's like if the person can't fight back and they're getting hit while you're trying to protect them, it's not that fun.
Yeah.
You know, I do want to help people and save people, but while they're getting smacked around, I really don't. I'm just kind of like, you know what, fuck you.
Well, it's elevated 50 times when it's a child.
And that goes into what I was saying because, yeah, I saw the trailer and I said, okay, this is an escort mission, and I have a feeling that the child can't speak any English, and that means there's going to be also miscommunication between the two leads.
Yeah, so having a language barrier is going to be
Yeah.
like, all right, just another kick in the teeth.
Yeah, so we have a child escort mission, and they can't speak to each other. It sounds like a disaster to me. It sounds like a recipe for a disaster. That's why I didn't take this seriously. But I thought there's two ways this can go, right? One, it could be an actually decent action film with some really cool special effects, or two, it could be so over the top and corny that it'll be hilariously bad in a fun way. So bad it's good. Which I was kind of hoping for that, because I enjoy those movies more than a movie that kind of like,
Yeah, same. I mean,
Yeah.
I like the trash ones because they're just more fun.
yeah, because you can't stop laughing, and it'll be something that you'll go back to because of that corniness. And over time, some of those corny movies, those ones that you laugh at the first few times, they grow on you
Yes,
like
they
a
do.
like a fungus. They just grow on you.
Like Swamp Thing.
Like, and by the way, there's a lot of bog in this. So in our
Oh,
a couple
geez.
talking trashes ago, we've talked about the bog, and we were wondering what it was. And the main actor in this movie, Adam Driver, falls in the bog a lot.
The bog was like one of my favorite podcasts that we did. It's so funny. That fucking music was in my head forever. I just wanted to relive that again. Yeah.
Well, what was
terrible.
your before with this movie's trailer? Like, what was your
So,
thoughts?
My before thoughts, I was thinking, oh man, okay, so they're gonna do like the whole Jurassic Park thing where, excuse me, I'm sorry, Jurassic Park 2, where like the dinosaur comes through the waterfall.
Yes.
And then the raptors hoard in and they attack it all at once. That sort of thing. Like I thought they were just going to take things from that and just start recycling old stuff,
Yeah.
So I thought that was what was going to happen. That was my before thought, and I also thought that, oh dear Lord, we have a child, and you know how children always throw a wrench in things in these movies. They do stupid things, they wander off, they do silly things, and then she can't speak English, so that's just the icing on the shit cake.
Yeah, what's funny too, to add to that, the trailer kind of hides it.
They do a
There's
little.
one moment where she's saying something gibberish
Yes.
in the trailer, and then I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And they
So
kinda
was
hide
like,
it, though.
Oh man, so that was my before thought. I was like, okay, this is gonna be with a whatever kind of plot, and no nothing to write home over. And then it was just gonna recycle all the Jurassic Park things. That's what I thought going in.
Yes. All right. So that's our before thoughts. That's pretty much the reason we didn't see it. And another thing too to add to it, I guess, is that Adam Driver is the main star. Now, that seems like it was one of the reasons to see it.
Well, yeah, because we really like him.
I think everybody kind of likes Adam Driver a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like he might be a little overhyped as an actor. People love him. I like him, fine. But he does have some quirks in his acting that I feel like goes in all of his movies. And I can't unsee them. Like, he has certain things that he does in his acting style.
Yeah, for sure.
I like when he does a serious movie. He's done a couple serious movies where I've really loved him in the movie.
Like the Marriage Story.
Marriage, it blew me away. I thought their acting was amazing. The same thing with what's the one with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck that they did together? And he was the knight, and it was like a story. A woman said she was raped by Adam Driver, and then her husband was Matt Damon, and it's like,
Oh fuck, which
I
one
know
was
it's
that?
like something knight, but it doesn't matter. But that movie, I thought everybody was excellent, and I think that movie, unfortunately, was very underseen. I actually thought it was a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
Um,
I did. Yeah, actually, that one was. Oh, he was in House of Gucci too. We thought he did a good job.
Yeah, I mean, no, he was fine in that. I mean,
mean-
everybody else was so over the top that his character was the one that was like oddly tame.
You know what's funny is like, yeah, he was kind of tame in it, but I like the way he looked. I just like I don't know. He just
Yeah.
looked different for him, because like the way I see Adam Driver is like I see like, okay, so he's a Marine. He's a U.S. Marine with a side gig as an actor. Because every time he's on screen, I feel like he's he's just an action star. It's weird. I don't know why. Like even in Marriage Story, I felt like a little bit like I really liked that movie, but I thought that he was like a little bit out of place
Yeah.
because he just seems like it's weird, like a big brooding guy. And I just felt like he was a little bit out of place in that movie for some reason.
I can see that.
Although I thought it was a really good movie. But I just feel like he's a good action star. I feel like he should get more action roles.
See, I don't. yeah, I'm on the fence of how I feel about his acting as an action star. I think that I just feel when I saw the trailer for this and I saw he was in this, I was like, wow, how much did they pay him? Because I'm shocked he did this movie. Because he's been doing so many indie films and doing movies that are like giving to his dramatic chops. And a movie like this didn't seem like it would lend itself to him too much.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I understand what you're saying. That he didn't really have. He kind of acted a lot with his face in this.
Yeah.
But there was no. He didn't really emote. Like, I'm not gonna say emote. He didn't give off like he was having some kind of like emotions. Like there was one scene or two where he was having a panic attack, but I still didn't feel it. Like at one point I was gonna lean over to him and be like, okay, what's happening here?
Yeah.
Like what is he going for? But his face works a lot, like he can do some where you almost feel like he's had an epiphany where, okay, I'm in a movie.
Yeah.
That happened a couple times in this movie.
I feel like with his face that you were talking about, I feel like to me, every time I see his face and his acting style with his face, I always go, it's like he should be a painter in every film. Like
Yeah.
he should play an art guy in every film.
Yeah, he's like he's very artsy.
Okay, let's talk about the plot a little, because this is the easiest movie to talk about. We do movies. This is another funny thing. Every time we pick a movie for Talking Trash, right? Well, we've discussed this off the show a lot, so I figured let's just talk about it here. We pick the range, like the gambit that we pick is so all over the place. We're ranging that gambit like so much. Like we got a movie one day that's a really straightforward movie that we can talk shit about, right? And we're kind of baffled about the plot a little bit. And then we have Giallo, which we're like, there's 85 things going on, and I can hardly remember half of it. That's we had that problem during the Fast and the Furious,
Yeah.
and I was like, during the Fast and the Furious, I'm like, give me some credit for remembering every single scene that I just watched, as much as I could, because I know I mess up a lot, but that's only because some of these movies are very convoluted.
Yeah.
And then you got a movie like this, what we watched tonight, and it's so easy.
It's very straightforward. Yeah, there's no
Because
curves or anything.
There isn't. Although the one that, and I guess that's a problem with the movie, and that's what we should get to in the discussion about it. So we're just going to talk trash about it, right? We're just going to spoil it up and try to talk out this plot. It's an easy one. Basically, it starts off with some really great CG shots of the universe. It looks beautiful in the opening special effects. And I guess this is a movie where they're using a technology from The Mandalorian, where they're basically surrounding the actors in the screen. That's become a bigger thing, and I think this movie shows that heavily. Mm-hmm. Like maybe they have some ground that they made, and then they're surrounding that set with CG screen to make the backgrounds. Sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't.
I thought
in
it
this
worked
movie.
here.
There was certain shots where you can clearly tell the lighting wasn't matching up with the actors, so it looked fake. But then there were then they would cut to another shot of like Adam Driver versus the female actress in this, and I could tell the difference. This movie actually opens up with some great special effects of basically showing the cosmos and the solar system, and we're going in on it, and then we finally get to a spaceship. And then the graphics kind of get a little, they show asteroids hitting a spaceship. And that starts getting a little wonky there, right? Because the special effects start off pretty neat. And then it gets a little like, okay, this is something, I've seen this before. But basically, Adam Driver is a pilot of a spaceship that gets hit by comets and, an asteroid belt. I think that his computer, and I think this is a running joke in this movie, that Adam Driver cannot wake up to an alarm.
I know, it's so funny, but we should actually tell the listeners that the film opens by we get to see that he has a daughter.
Do we get that right off the bat?
Yes, we do. We get it off the bat. They're on the beach.
But wait, so how did it set from the Cosmos stuff and the words about space, and then I thought it went right into the spaceship,
Yeah,
but
no,
it goes right to the
didn't.
planet.
It goes right to the planet where
Okay.
they're standing on the beach, and we are
Okay.
introduced to his
You're
daughter.
right, because the special effects are still good here, because I think this is the screen system thing that I was talking about,
I mean,
where the backgrounds must be all screens.
it looks really pretty, whatever
does look
they
pretty.
do. But like, they just established that he has a wife and a daughter, and the
Yeah.
little girl is playing his daughter is that adorable kid that we like from My Spy. She's starting to show up in everything.
Okay. Thank you for pointing out who that is. I
Yeah,
wasn't sure.
she's in My Spy, and she was also in that one we saw recently. It was Dungeons and Dragons. She was in that with Chris Pine.
Wow, she hasn't aged.
I know.
She's done that's 3 movies from definitely different years, and she looks exactly the same.
Yeah, she looks
so.
exactly the same. She's so cute though. But yeah, so she's playing his daughter, and obviously we see off the bat that she is not well.
Well, yeah, and I want to say this is something that so when we started watching this movie, I instantly went in with this judgmental eye of why is this movie so panned? Because I'm like, is it that bad? This is a big conversation piece between you and me and everybody else we've ever met, where I think people are either too judgmental or too praising. You know, they're too against it or too.
It's like they
for
either
it.
hate it or they absolutely love it.
There is like no gray area, and I can't stand that because we love watching bad movies because of this. We want to see, are these movies as bad as they are said? You know, people say they are, or are they decent? And I think that some people see a blockbuster and they automatically have this judging eye of like it's trash or it's not. Because they don't willingly go watch a shitty movie to
Right.
see what a shitty movie really is. And I think that if you're a reviewer, your number one goal should always be to have that basis. And we did
Right.
an episode just talking about how we review movies. And we should have went in it deeper, but we were talking about movies that we think are the star system. And that's basically why I wanted to watch this so bad. So I'm watching this with a judging eye. And I automatically like the opening, and then we cut to this shot, which I would say is heavy, just heavily forcing exposition. And I was like, oh, okay, this is sloppy writing, because it's the kind of movie where Adam Driver's like, he would never say this out loud, but it's doing it so the audience understands the establishment of what's going on without doing it organically. So he, of course, says something like, she's sick, and I have to go on this mission, and it's this many years, but I have to do it so we can pay for the doctor bills. And exactly when he says that, the little girl coughs.
I'm just thinking about what to say.
Say they're tripling your salary, which is how we can afford to treat her. To cure her.
You okay?
I'm fine.
It's 2 years. I won't be here.
I know, but when you get back, she will.
Right.
And
it's
I'm
like,
like,
okay, all right.
You didn't have to do the cough. That over embellishing a conversation that nobody would say to out loud to their wife, like, again, I'm gonna talk about it, but I don't know,
Right.
And I have to do it. And
Well, they were
she's
discussing
sick.
the fact that he has to go, on this mission, which we learned that, this mission is transporting 35 passengers on a spacecraft in cryosleep. That's what the mission is.
Well, I think you're saying that because that's what happens in the movie, but that's not.
That's
the
what they want us to think it is.
Yes, and that's
what
another
I'm
big
saying.
issue. Yeah.
It's like, okay, so he's obviously a pilot of a spacecraft, and he
says
has to do this.
He's got to do a run or a mission that's going to be 2 years.
Yeah.
And that it's going to pay for his daughter's hospital bills or her treatments
Her treatments.
of her non-disclosed
illness. Yeah.
And they're on a beautiful beach somewhere. It's like perfect. Everything looks beautiful, and you can tell it's an alien planet. There's purples in the sky.
Yeah.
So you know that something's different here. Mm-hmm. And there's a really nice scene with him and his daughter trying to teach her how to whistle with his hands. It's nice. The actor definitely they have that connection right off the bat. I was like, I get this. This is a good establishment, but they didn't need that dialogue and that cough to hammer in that she's sick.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was just kind of like too forced in.
Yeah,
But
they could have done it organically where you're saying things like,
I get
have
why-
you told her yet? No, I have to. And then
Yeah.
him go talk to his daughter and say what's going on. Instead of like whisper to my wife that she can clearly, she should hear me. She's like only like a couple feet away.
yeah, but I get it. Like I just I feel like we needed a little bit of the two of them so that we could care about that little girl.
That I agree with.
You know
And
what I
that
mean?
I liked.
And I did care about her. So, when we did have time for that, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? But like then we cut
This jumps right to the
that
ship.
he's right on the mission.
Yeah, and that
he's right
shit,
on-
and that's what I jumped forward too much, and I forgot that opening because I thought for some reason there was a flashback during this, but I already screwed up on a simple plot. I said,
Get your life together, okay?
How
I mean,
dare
that's
you.
usually me that
You
fucks up
son of a
everything.
bitch. God,
God, you're
what a
fired.
jerk.
I want a new one. Can I have a new one?
I knew it was. It'd be so great if I could cut here and just like put one of our friends talking now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
but
we're on
this
the-
is where the ship starts getting hit by the asteroids, and it's funny because the computer. I will also point out Easter egg. They definitely did this for a pop culture reference, and I'm not really sure why they used it or if they even knew they were using it. But whoever involved in the sound decided to use the alert system by taking the sound clip of, I believe, the aliens attack from War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds, where they move in and they make this certain kind of noise.
I think we should try to make them understand we mean them no harm.
There's another machine coming up.
They are living creatures out there.
They're not human. Dr. Forrester says they're some kind of advanced civilization.
If they're more advanced than us, they should be nearer the Creator for that reason.
The moving target. Prepare to follow up.
And they're using that as the warning on the ship.
It's like a warning. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think they kind of did that maybe as like a nod to other sci-fi movies.
Which is weird because it doesn't have any connection here.
No, it doesn't. But maybe either one of two things. They're hoping that the audience wouldn't notice, because
I mean,
who
they did
really
it for
would.
a reason. They did it for nerds.
Yeah, only
For
the
me,
nerds. Only
yeah.
like the nerds like us would notice that. But I just thought maybe that was kind of like a throw in as like a okay,
it's an odd
yay,
one.
sci-fi. I don't
With
know.
the theme of this movie, I would have done
Dennis Nedry.
Yes, that's the theme here. I mean,
Dodson. We have Dodson here.
this movie has more in connection with Jurassic Park than it does any sci-fi.
It really does. It does.
Yeah,
that's what I
it's
was
odd.
afraid of when we went into this. But
Yeah.
he's so Adam Driver is the pilot of the ship, and he's woken up to these alarms going off because the asteroid's tearing through the ship.
But it's not really alerting him highly.
It sounds
It
just
should
like
be
an
alerting
it's-
him.
It sounds like an alarm to get you out of sleep, like
Yeah,
my
it's
regular
like-
phone alarm.
Yeah,
like,
basically the relaxing alarm. You know,
Yeah.
that do do do.
yeah.
It's like this should be like.
I mean,
I would have put in
yeah.
the aliens, like
Oh.
the aliens alarm system that goes off. Really get this guy out of bed. I guess what happened is their ship randomly flew into an asteroid belt that they didn't know existed. It was uncharted, and I don't. Now I'm a little confused at why a ship would only have one woke pilot or one person engineer or whatever. They only have one person awake, and everybody else is in cryo sleep. That seems
Yeah.
like an odd thing
See,
to do.
I found that very strange too. I mean, they show us the pods of everyone asleep as he's rousted from his slumber. He gets up and you see the pods, but then I was thinking, I was going to motion to you, like, where the hell is the crew of this ship? Like,
Why
it's
would
just,
they not have another crew member?
it's so weird. Like, why? Okay, what if he dropped dead from a heart attack
That's
or
what I'm-
something?
that's what I'm saying,
And
like, is
this
this-
is like, you have no other person. You don't have anyone. Like, what if something happens to the engine or this whatever, the turbines or some shit?
I was thinking about the movie Passengers with Chris Pratt
Yeah,
and Jennifer
Jennifer
Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Another movie that people trashed that I think is a little too trashed.
I like that movie.
It's not bad.
I mean, I didn't
we,
love
we
it.
guessed it real quick in the
Oh,
trailer.
yeah, we
and I
guessed
know
it.
like that was the big thing. People were mad because the twist was a little weird. But that movie did the same thing where everybody was in cryosleep and the computer just randomly selected who was worthy of doing the job, right? And so same thing here is that he's not in cryosleep though, and that's even crazier. That it wakes him up gently, and he can hardly wake up to this alarm.
Right.
And then he realizes, oh shit, stuff's gone bad, and sure as shit, the moment he's put into the seat to fly, the ship is just demolished.
It's demolished, but I can't help but think the whole time, I'm just like, okay, this is like the worst planning of all time, because there's like no, like it doesn't seem like there's any kind of defense on the ship at all, but everything inside the ship is futuristic, and like they have holograms and things like that, but there's no like shields. Like I'm bringing up Star Trek only because
We're
Star Trek
nerds,
is life. But, whenever Captain Picard says, shields up or whatever, like, okay, so we know that the Enterprise is going to be protected. This thing is like a huge clunk of junk in space. It's carrying all of these cryosleep pods, and it's very, like, the technology is like 10th level inside. But there's no freaking protection on the outside of the ship.
Yeah, and also that the ship didn't take maneuvers to
It didn't
get away from
No.
the oncoming asteroid belt. That it wasn't. Should have scanned it way back before it started happening.
Right, and there's no, like you said, there's no evasive maneuvers when they get inside the asteroid, the asteroid field, that the ship doesn't even try to like maneuver out.
No,
And
it basically just says handing over manual flight because I don't think he can maneuver, so it's telling him to take over. So this is a mission that the computer definitely is reliant on a human pilot.
right, and like
Which
I
is
said,
like
what if he dropped dead? So
yeah,
who would be?
and
you
that's
know?
the kind of stuff that's bizarre.
It's weird writing. It's like they should have put at least one other person, so that maybe
Yeah.
there were 3 people, or even there was something.
And I wonder if in the writing stage there was something that this was written a certain way and then that was thrown out. Because what this makes me believe, because somehow his ship, they're going in a route I would believe has already been charted. Because why would they be flying out there unless they're going to terraform somewhere?
Right, but you hear the ship say going off course, going off course.
Oh, it went off course.
Because after they went through the
Oh,
asteroid
no,
field,
yeah,
they
but
got
before that, I mean.
thrown about.
Yeah, of course, because they're getting hit and everything's
Right.
going apeshit. But I'm saying before that, they should have been on a trajectory. Ugh, I butchered that word. Going straight, why they came across this planet that they come across and never saw it or charted it before is
Yeah.
odd, which makes me believe that in the writing stage, in a part of the writing, that this movie actually kind of seemed to be advertised as. I wonder if there was a time where this movie was a time travel movie, that he accidentally hit some kind of wormhole and ended up in front of these asteroids while he was asleep, and then he woke up and was thrusted into the past, which I think that you actually believed was happening, and I had to tell you, like,
I
no,
did.
No.
I mean, okay, well, we're led to believe that he's crash landed
Yeah, or right after he gets hit by the asteroids, he crashes
back
on,
on
the planet.
Earth. And in the beginning, I was too busy looking at the actors to notice that there was like the sky was different. So I was
Oh, in
just
the opening.
automatically assuming that they were on Earth. I just assumed that.
You assumed that they were humans, and this was the
yes.
future.
Yes.
And that this was the future, and they were just doing normal space stuff. in the
Absolutely,
future.
absolutely. Like there was just technology up the wazoo, and that they were in the future. I had no reason to believe they weren't already on Earth because they look like human beings.
Yeah.
So
and the
that's
reason,
why.
and I think that's why I bring it up, that I wonder if that they wrote this to be some kind of Planet of the Apes type of scenario where this is going to be some kind of time travel movie, but somewhere down the line they must have rejected some of that, because it does seem like, why would this ship automatically get hit by asteroids? You know what I mean? Like, why would they not know about this crazy planet Earth? And you know what's funny about this? This movie doesn't even try to do that twist. It literally just tells you on screen, Earth,
It does. It says
65
yeah,
million years ago.
65
And it
million
actually says the
years ago.
title, and it says,
Yeah.
and it has a whole line of dialogue underneath the title. And it takes about 17 minutes or so for the title card to finally come up, 65 million years. And then it says Earth, or before Earth, or before humans, or something like that. It has
Something-
like a
I
whole
forget what
line
it
of dialogue.
said,
And I
yeah.
was like, what the
I'm like,
fuck?
wait a
Like,
minute.
that's
So
odd.
That's why I thought it was a time travel movie.
But right there it tells you, no.
Because but then they weren't on Earth that whole time. So
You feel
I was
like
what
they're-
the heck?
Yeah, there's going to be some kind of twist.
So the asteroids fuck up the ship major big time. And to the fact that it literally breaks in half and entering the Earth's atmosphere, and the pods, all 35 human beings in the cryostasis pods, fly out
Yeah,
of
we
the
see them
ship.
get ripped up.
I mean, destroyed. These people are just decimated. And so at the ship that the part of the ship that Adam Driver is in, he's in the front, obviously he's in the cockpit, and that part lands somewhere and the other part of the ship lands another place.
Yeah.
So, he's just completely like out of his mind. Nothing works on the ship when he crashes. He can't, call anyone. There's no like anything. There's no beacon. There's nothing.
Actually, he does have a lot of that, because he does leave a note.
He does.
He erases it because
Yeah.
at first his
But it's
first
not-
instinct is everything's bad, and he
Yeah.
has to figure out that this is a breathable planet. First off, he goes outside in a mask. He falls right in a bog. There's a monster going around the bog. You think it's going to be a big part? No, nothing happens there. And then he finds all the dead bodies, and then we're seeing him slowly realize, I'm alone. And they're basically the computer's telling him no life signs. A lot of pods are missing, but right now there's no life signs, right? And he finds out by taking his mask off. He just takes his mask off.
Yeah, I mean, he just
and
throws
he's
caution to the wind.
And he can breathe. And then basically his next step is to write a note saying, first he writes a whole note to tell, and then he narrates everything that's happening. Mm-hmm. And then he erases that note. And then he does a new note where he says, I'm the only survivor. There's no need to come rescue me. Because there's why would they even go rescue one pilot, on a failed mission?
Right.
And so he writes that note, and he's like, no need to come rescue. And then he basically is like suicidal. He's going to kill himself. And that's really crazy. And I think right there hurts the movie, because if you can't put two and two together, what's going on in this guy's plot, because he left his daughter and said he was going to be back, and she was sick. And now your first thought was, oh, she's sick. How do you know that something doesn't happen to her while he's away?
Right, because if it's a 2-year mission,
Yeah, like that's
I
kind of
mean,
messed up. But-
she might not make it.
And I said, well, he has to do it to pay for the medical treatments. Like, what scenario, what case does he have? He goes and he doesn't go. They don't have the money to even treat her. He's got to give her a fighting chance, right? But you're absolutely right, because, and I say this all the time with any movie, if you haven't seen something, the movie's lying to you about something now. And this is the big problem, right? We have two kind of setups here. And right off the bat, I'm like, this isn't a time travel movie. There's no twist. And the second thing is his daughter. And I think this is extremely obvious. Even you kind of started pointing it out. But he starts watching clips of his daughter. He's got hologram machines. Like, you were right. There's so much advanced technology in this movie that they should have had at least some kind of weapon in space to shoot it, the comet, the
I mean,
asteroids,
something.
or
There's,
something?
like,
Because
no- there's
they have
nothing.
laser guns that fire blasts of they have to charge up and fire.
And
And you're like, oh, they should be able to have more technology here.
these guns are pretty badass.
And so when you're watching this daughter stuff, you kind of, I think they show you too many scenes. He keeps going through and seeing all these scenes of his daughter's been sending him messages, and he actually sends out that note, "Don't come and save me." So he's able to send out a note, and that's a beacon. If that note goes out there, it's also got a beacon.
Right, but is it even reaching anyone? Because
But that's the thing, right? Because
know.
you're like, I don't think this is a time travel flick. So you're like, this is definitely going to get out there. And also, he's watching and has been receiving messages from his daughter over and over and over while he was away.
right.
And then we're watching a bunch of them, and then they get to the point where they get less happy. And I don't think it takes a genius to figure out what's happened.
Yeah, it's exactly what I said.
Yeah, and so right there, I'm like, you're kind of burying your twists. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that kind of hurts the film a little bit.
Right. I mean, his daughter had passed, so there's
Well,
nothing
we
for
don't-
him to live
Yeah,
for.
we don't really get that. But him, like, willing to kill himself and give up.
Yeah.
And the last clip we see is her crying.
Yep.
That's where I'm like, something's wrong, right? And then, right as he's going to kill himself, the computer says, oh, we found a life pod and there's a survivor. And basically, he's got to go out there in the dark woods and find this life pod.
Yes. Also, may I just chime in really quick and just say that I feel as though, like, I'm as the viewer, I feel like I'm the only person that's hearing these god awful sounds in the goddamn jungle.
What do you mean?
Like,
Oh, he
he's
looks a
going
lot
through
around
the
a lot.
fucking jungle with with his gun, and there's all these and all these like.
Oh, yeah. And because we already saw the trailer, we know that he's in on Earth 65, and they actually tell you 65 million years ago, we know there was dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So we know what's happening
And we
here
get
before
that.
he sees it.
But he doesn't get that. So whenever he hears these sounds, he's like not even moved by any of it.
Well, he is when he finally sees a giant footprint.
When he sees the footprint. But I'm talking about being out in the freaking jungle and hearing these sounds of like that. Okay, that is not a normal. That's not a bunny. Okay, that's not a bunny. That's not like a a deer. That's not a normal animal. Okay, that is not the sound that a freaking koala makes. For God's sake. Okay.
Yeah,
This
you're
is
right.
a freaking demon out there. And he's not
demon.
even reacting to this shit at all. He's just walking through the forest, and when he stumbles upon that pod. But honestly, all these sounds are going on around him. I'd be scared. I would have already crapped my pants 3 times just listening to the sounds. Like, even if I heard a centipede on the floor, I would have lost my shit. I'm talking about the click-clack of freaking raptors out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that this is where his this character definitely seems to be well trained more than a pilot. He definitely is some kind of army, because, and this is where you said Marines.
Yes, he's
comes
the
in
Marine
in real
with
life.
it's like a side dish of acting. That's the way I see it. Because like
Oh, you mean Adam Driver himself? Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, the character. You could tell that the character. You see
Yes.
that Adam Driver is using his Marines training.
yes, but that's also
But
what I'm feeling here too.
I feel like the character also
Yeah.
is some kind of soldier, because he uses weapons really well.
Yep.
And so I think that Adam Driver does a good job here. And let's just get this out of the way. Adam Driver is doing way more face acting. He's doing way better of a job than the movie seems to even need.
he is doing good face acting. He is. I said that earlier.
He does react to the sounds in a way where it's like, what is that? But also like a Marine, where it's like, I have to not be scared and I have to trek on.
Right. He doesn't. That's what I'm talking about. Him
but I think it
not
comes through.
reacting. It
Yeah.
definitely comes through. Like, I mean, any normal person walking through the jungle would have, had their freaking ears up for every little sound out there, especially if you're alone and you think you're alone. He didn't know at this point that the little girl was alive in the pod. But You hear all those sounds. Like, I know that you have a gun and you can, use that gun, but I mean, those sounds, like I said to you, are not normal
No, I know.
animals.
But that's why I'm bringing up the fact that I think that his acting is definitely conveying
Yeah,
a soldier trying not to lose his shit.
that's true.
And I think that the shots when he is scared and trying not to be scared is good. Like when he sees the giant footprint and totally stops in his tracks and he's like, fuck, and he's looking around in the air like, what the fuck, I think that's it works. But unfortunately, this is where it leads into he finds the pod. And now we have our escort mission character. We basically have a little girl who's named Koa, which, and I got to tell you, I think this is one of the drawbacks and why people might not like it so much. It's very on the nose. The whole movie doesn't do anything outside of the box. Everything is basically paint by numbers. So this character is even named Koa, which in Hawaiian means warrior. Okay, so right off the bat, you're like, oh, I wonder what's gonna happen with this little girl. I wonder if she's gonna step up from being the
helpless
whiny,
little,
nosy thing, little character to the helpful character.
Damsel in distress, yeah. But
And that's become such a standard norm in movies now, where they're finding like they have to paint by numbers. They can't just do a little girl scared and needs to be saved movie anymore. Now it's got to be that little girl has to grow up and be a badass. And sometimes it works, like in Prey, and sometimes it does not work. Here, it's kind of in the between. It's okay. It doesn't bother me.
It's not as bad as I expected it to be.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a language barrier. She does not speak English, but she starts learning words. He helps her through. But yeah, their dynamic together is not bad.
Yeah, and she can be annoying in the sense that she keeps putting him in peril in dumb ways.
Well, that's just the normal kid crap in
Yeah.
movies where
Like,
you have, they just do stupid shit.
She leaves the ship and goes on her own. It's one of those things that why make a character not speak English? Why is there a connection there? Like, why would they have even thought that? It's kind of an odd thing. I think that this movie probably would have worked even better if they were able to talk to each other.
Yeah, but you know what, though? I feel like it added more intensity to the scenes that she couldn't understand him because she did the complete opposite of what he told her a lot of the time. But, there's a lot going on in this movie where they're just always in danger. 100%. There's just,
Well, yeah, they're in Jurassic Park now.
yeah, they're in Jurassic Park. There's all sorts of different dinosaurs coming after them.
Yeah,
But,
and I can't even. I think they actually come, and this one really kind of bothered me. They come across a struggling, wounded baby dinosaur that's, it's the cute, good one, right? And then they kind of save it from a tar pit or something, and they rescue it, and it looks very CG. We saw the Super Mario Brothers. We did it on the show, and they used actual physical props, and it looks way better in Mario Brothers than it does here. It doesn't even look like the shading color is proper, so it looks really cartoonish outside of them. The lighting is off or whatever. But what's funny here, I will give them credit here because they save it and you're like, oh, it's so cute and some dinosaurs are cute. No, right when it's after it's saved and it walks off, it gets completely murdered by a whole bunch of dinosaurs.
Like they look like those little, they're not as small as those little ones in Jurassic Park that attack that guy with the zapper. Remember those little ones that attack him? But they're slightly bigger and they have kind of feathers on them. It's weird.
Well,
That's why I thought they were raptors.
I said that they were raptors because I think that Jurassic Park kind of ruined raptors for actual what they were, and I think they were smaller and more bird-like. So I don't know if these are raptors. We can only guess here because there's a lot of dinosaurs here. I do not.
It's a lot of speculation. No one was around 65 million years ago.
Well, there's people who find bones, and that's what they do for a living. Is dig up the past and figure it out.
Dig up the past. You can't put feathers on bones. That you can't tell that from looking at a
That's
pair
going.
of bones.
That's a whole nother thing.
But
We could talk
whatever.
off taping here.
Yeah, anyway, just to move on. So this thing gets freaking shredded by these little dinosaurs, and they start coming after Adam Driver and the little girl.
Yeah,
And he has a gun. He has like a freaking blaster.
Yeah, he's able to scare these things off. But
Yeah.
the whole concept here is that the computer has finally figured out that their plane or spaceship that they can actually leave and go into space.
There's
with.
a shuttle pod.
It's like a shuttle pod.
It's like an escape pod.
It located it, and so they have to walk to it, and it's on a mountain. Now he tells the little girl, and the only way he can is that she's asking for her parents, and basically he says they're on the mountain. He's lying. He knows they're all dead, but he tells her this anyways. And the little girl, before they go on start on their little mission, and this is where they sell the monster, the dinosaur, and everything. Before they go, she has snuck into his tapes, and of course found all his tapes on his daughter.
Yeah, and
And
she can
started
only
playing
put,
some of them, and then he stopped her.
Yeah,
But she secretly took some of them.
she did, but I think that she just wanted to feel like, even though she can't understand what is being said,
Yeah, this is how she can relate.
I feel like she can relate. Like she can feel like
Yeah.
she feels like she's gonna be seeing her father again.
Yeah.
And she kind of she just has that. It makes her feel like warm,
Mm-hmm.
And then we learn, after a while, I could be skipping ahead, but that
It doesn't really matter.
that I mean he tells her, "No, my daughter died." She
Yeah,
was sick.
it happens a while later, and yeah, he just and we already know, and that's the thing that I think that really hurts. Like, this isn't a twist.
No, it's not. And they drag it out a little bit too much with her because, okay, we get it. We know that the little girl died.
Yeah, I mean, it's very obvious that he stayed in space, and this is not the mission that he went on when she was sick, and he was going to do the 2-year mission.
Right.
This is obviously way after
Way
that.
after, yeah.
And then a lot has happened,
Right.
and one of those things we guessed right off the bat was his daughter has passed away,
Mm-hmm.
and that he wasn't home, and then he never went back.
Right.
We don't know about his wife. We never find out
We
any
never
of that.
find anything out about his wife. I'm just guessing that they just are no longer together because they can't take the pain of what happened. Maybe that's what we don't hear anything else about her, but he is on this planet with this little girl. So he is what they go through just to get to this shuttle is out and out just bonkers. I mean, he gets fucked up big time.
I mean, you got all of the things that you can imagine, right? They get chased by dinosaurs. They fight off some dinosaurs. They get into scraps. They get hurt. They almost die. We find out some of his tech. He's got like little bomb pebbles, like things like that. He's got a hologram machine that can play his daughter in a holographic way. Stuff like that, and also you get that bonding between these two characters where they can relate to each other, where he's like, I can whistle like I did with my daughter to get her to pay attention to me,
Yeah, so
and then he's like, it all comes
Well,
around.
there's a scene that I was like, oh boy, that's crazy. It kind of like jostled me a little bit when there's a scene where one of the dinosaurs literally grabs the girl by the collar and drags her almost by the throat through the beach, down the beach, and she's just fucked up from that. So she's like in like a kind of like a comatose catatonic state.
Yeah.
And so then you kind of see the bond between Adam Driver and her in that moment because, he's trying to teach her how to do the whistle like he did his own daughter and try to bring her back to reality and snap her out of what she's going through. And I thought that was kind of sweet, That was a sweet moment and it did work. And so, the shit that they end up in after that, like he seems to always have to save her. But I was really pleased that, they finally did get to the mountain. They did finally actually get to the shuttle, which I was like, okay, what are the chances that this thing is 100% intact after landing, like going 900 billion miles an hour towards Earth? falling out of the sky. What are the chances? So I felt at that moment, like before they actually got there, I was like, they're going to get there and this thing's going to be freaking destroyed. And they're both going to die together on this planet.
You think this is going to be like a Rogue One scenario?
I don't know what it was, but like, I just felt like maybe there was going to not be a happy ending here.
There's no way in hell they would have done that.
Because it just seems so far-fetched to have this thing in working order after falling from the sky.
Well, let's point out the big, I guess, twist. And again, and this is another not really a twist, kind of just as they're going on this mission, they start finding out that there is a giant ball of light in the sky. And the computer says, cannot figure out what this object is. And it is a giant meteor. And guess what? It's the extinction level, the one that killed all the dinosaurs. Mm-hmm. The size of Texas is coming right at Earth.
So that was perfect timing that he crashed there.
What are the odds?
That's most amazing, perfect timing that he crashed on Earth. And there's a freaking meteor
and he has enough
coming.
Time
and he has
to get to the ship
and
do the escape.
Just in time. But then the best thing that I kind of liked, actually, I wouldn't say the best thing, but the thing I liked was that, he spent so much time during this movie, like, saving her. But then, he puts her in the shuttle and says, get out. Get out. Hit the launch. And then, the dinosaur, the T-Rex, the big-ass T-Rex is banging up the shuttle.
This is the kind of stuff that's so stale. Because... how many times you have to see a movie where you're like, oh, everything's on this moment, and that's when everything shows up. Not one, not two, 3 different T-Rex-esque monsters show up during this fight. And one of them hits the ship so hard that it goes, oh, I'm fixing myself. The computer goes, oh, starting to fix the ship. And then it's like, it had to be hit by the T-Rex to finally fix itself.
So can I just say that this is the best thing? Okay, so the goddamn shuttle is all fucked up by this T-Rex, right? And it's repairing itself. However, the main ship that he flew in on was getting smacked around by freaking asteroid pebbles, and it completely, like, crashed and got fucked up.
It's hanging off a cliff, and it falls off the cliff.
Yeah, so it couldn't repair itself in time. It couldn't repair
Only
itself
when a T-Rex
at all.
Yeah.
But, and there was no shields and no defense systems on this big ship. But on the goddamn escape pod, there is.
Yes.
And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So he tells her to get the fuck out, take the, launch pad, get out, whatever. And so... then he's trying to lure the T-Rex out of, the vicinity so she can launch the thing. And
even better, you got to point this out too, because earlier in the movie, and if anybody doesn't know what Chekhov's gun is, anytime you see it, the joke was that they said, if you see a gun in the opening act, that gun's coming back in the last act. That's called Chekhov's gun. Well, this is Chekhov's hot springs.
Oh my God, okay.
Because in the beginning of the movie, he finds a hot spring and almost gets boiled by it. And he actually, during this fight, that's at night, looks to the side and says, take off, leave, because the asteroid is coming, and it's going to destroy the entire planet.
Shards are actually falling to Earth.
They're just raining down. He says leave, and he runs. Now, he actually has time. There's a T-Rex standing face to face with him. He has time to turn around, look at her, tell her to leave, then look to the side and go, oh yeah, those hot springs are over there somewhere. And he runs out there, and it becomes daylight. And he perfectly runs past the hot spring in time for it to shoot in the dinosaur's face and boil him.
And so the T-Rex has basically got a facial.
Yes, but he's okay.
Fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
He was just a little discolored. His face just a little pale.
A little bit.
He was okay.
Yeah, he's fine.
And so...
And by the way, we should also point out that earlier in the film, this T-Rex pulled the exact same thing as the T-Rex from Lost World, where it looked in the waterfall, and he shot it in the eye. And that is the exact same T-Rex that found them again to fight them at the end, because he lost an eye. And movies, if you fight one creature and scar them, that creature will come back at you forever.
Now this shit is personal.
Yeah, this is personal.
Oh wait, no, what does he say in New Jack City? this ain't business, bitch. It's personal. That's what Ice-T says.
Perfect.
Nino.
So he doesn't. It actually didn't even do anything to the T-Rex thing. It's not even a T-Rex.
He
It
just
has
opened his
extendable long
pores.
arms in the front.
Yes.
There was 2 T-Rexes that died, but this is something else. And here's the best part. Before it can now kill him after it just had a facial, that's where Koa is now the warrior.
The warrior. Here
of
she
her
comes with
namesake.
like a huge stick.
Stabs
and
it
she
right in
stabs
his
it
other eye.
Right in the good eye.
Basically, there's some like pole vaulting on
Yeah,
in it.
it's amazing. And then she gets knocked down to the ground pretty hard.
Oh, she is.
But
yeah.
you know, the dinosaur gets jostled backwards and he hits the fucking hot spring again.
And this time, it boils him alive.
It looked like melting macaroni.
Yes, his face is like meatloaf. He's dead. And
Oh my god.
and now even better is
That
they
didn't
get
happen
back
the
to the
first time,
ship.
though.
They get back not the first time. The first time
No.
it removed the first couple layers. This
No,
one removed
he
all
needed
of the
his
layers.
pores to be exfoliated.
Yeah, that's right.
But now that, you know, we went through a second time, it's just, you know, obliteration.
But they get back to the ship in time for it to be fixed, take off as the asteroid is already in the atmosphere. And what bothers me is the sky, the atmosphere of the planet should be completely on fire. And it's not. They're able to take off as it's hitting impact.
Yeah, and so it's just like all those other movies we've seen about, you know, things like this, where like the shards are flying past their shuttle, but not hitting the shuttle, and they're
It's just perfect.
going straight into space.
Yeah.
And it just, she looks over at him, and he looks over at her, and they hold hands.
And yeah.
Finn.
And you know, of course, we skipped over the, you know, all the setups and all the journey, but it really is typical. And the funniest part about this movie is that while you're watching it, you cannot help but think about other movies you've already seen, that this feels so familiar. Right off the bat, I thought After Earth, the Will Smith movie that people hate.
Yep.
It feels very similar. I think the reason that people hate After Earth is that both those characters are like robots. Like Will Smith is a robot in that film, and it does not work.
Yeah.
You kind of want to have someone with personality. Adam Driver actually has the personality here, so I think this film works a little better. But yeah, this feels very reminiscent to a couple movies, and you can't help but unsee it. So I think that overall, the problem with this film, and probably why people dislike it so much, is because it feels familiar.
Like Prospect. That's the Pedro
Prospect
Pascal.
is a Pedro Pascal movie with the kid. It's him and a kid.
Yes, and I did not care for that movie either. That's
It's
another escort
It's a little
mission.
slow movie. It's
Yeah.
slow moving movie about like personal journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people love it. Yeah, I think here, it kind of works overall. It's odd because I definitely see the flaws. Like I definitely see why, because none of the stakes, none of the twists that could have been, like hiding the fact that they did go through a wormhole and this is like they went back in time and this is some kind of Twilight Zone metaphor or something like that, or anything like that. Even with his daughter's twist of being dead and like this actually being again forward in time for him and back in time for us, it feels like they could have done so much with this, but none of those things go anywhere. So this is just a straightforward movie about a guy trying to get off of the planet while there's dinosaurs attacking, and it's nothing more than that, really.
It's really not. And you know, the whole plot of him losing a daughter and then basically gaining another daughter, it's been done
That's exactly
through the freaking, like, it's just been beaten to the ground. It's like, all right, come on, you gotta go there now. I don't know, we didn't need it.
Yeah, and that itself is a cliche.
It is.
You know, that is a cliche. Oh, I lost a daughter. This is my newfound. Oh, you lost your parents. we're kind of like now together.
Yeah, like, we're
Okay.
we're a team now, and I mean, a part of that is sweet,
It's sweet,
but
it feels so familiar.
it's very familiar. Yeah, and like reading the reviews on this movie, I was flabbergasted by how many tens there were.
So let's go into that, because a new segment we want to see if we can sneak into our little talks about movies before we review it would be fun, is something I think we're going to call, "This is why we can't have nice things."
This is why we can't have nice things.
And to explain that, my complete furious hate, I cannot stand 1-star reviews and 10-star reviews. I get a little mad because when someone says something's a 10-star movie or a 9-star movie, I'm like, this is your favorite movie? Like, is this the best movie you've ever seen? Like, there's no problems? And then when it's a 1-star movie, I go, this is the worst movie you've ever seen. I ask people all the time, tell me your worst movie, because I'm going to watch them. If I haven't seen it, I'm going to watch it. What's the worst movie you've ever seen? And people tell me things, and I'm like, there is no fucking way that's the worst movie you've ever seen.
Right.
Like, and if it is, how can you review other movies? So now you are going to try to do this little game here to read me I said that if it's I would love both. I don't even know which one you're going to do here. But
so I have chosen one 10-star review after reading several. I've read several 10-star reviews, and there's one that stood out to me because this person took this movie and made it about his life.
of course,
And so that's why they gave it a 10. So I'm just going to go ahead and read this to you.
please.
The title of this review is, "I'm not generally a tearful puddle of a man, but this ruined me over and over." The review is, "In 25 some odd years of cheerful IMDbing, this is probably the third review I've felt moved enough to write. Went in with low to nil expectations. God damn, I love this movie so much it hurts. First of all, the reveal a few minutes in is clever as hell. And although one sees immediately how they've been set up and knocked down like an oblivious, mindless bowling pin, I appreciated the gallstones out of it nonetheless. Well done, most deaf. But the brilliantly executed emotional ride it then took me on, in amongst a horde of awesomely rendered predatory nightmares, which, although great, simply paled in comparison to the little dad-gnostic teeth sawing through my heart.
My God.
Oh man, I'm so glad I watched this on my own. I would have been humiliated otherwise. Maybe it's just me and the resonance it found with my particular life. Simply put, if you're a dad or at all dad inclined, stay far away from this masterful piece of business, unless you are guaranteed alone. You have been warned."
Jesus. Now all I keep thinking is, I hope this guy hasn't watched a real sad movie about being a father.
Okay, well, you see how that review stood out to me.
Yeah.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, this is why we can't have nice things.
This is why we can't have nice things. People getting
Yeah.
this. No, I agree. Do you agree sometimes with like a 10? Sometimes you want to give and I think that, I think you can't help giving a movie a high review if it touches you.
Yes, now, okay.
Now,
now
a dinosaur flick touching you that hard,
Yes.
where okay, people like don't agree with me on The Whale or Coda, but those movies touch me, and I wouldn't give them 10s.
There's no way
But
if
they're
you come
high
out
to
of
me.
those movies where you don't feel any emotion at all, then there's something wrong with you. However, in no disrespect to this reviewer, because this is a beautifully written review, I think it was a bit much.
Yeah, and also going 10.
Yes. So,
Like, it could be an 8.
yeah.
There definitely is flaws, and that's a 10 is like, it's perfect.
It's perfect.
That's
That's what
perfect.
he's saying. And the
Yes.
way it touched him, I mean,
He's watching. To me, like, I can't even take that serious because I feel like that guy's got to be taking the piss out of everybody because there's no way.
I feel like it's a.
Can you imagine him sitting on the couch just crying?
No.
He's just crying, right? That's what he's basically saying.
I mean,
like,
basically,
he's in
he was
tears.
a pile of, what do you say? Mush? I don't know. But then you got the other end of the spectrum. Now,
please.
I'm telling you, I really, when reading these one reviews, they were very fun to me to read.
Yeah,
I could not pick just one. I had to pick two.
they're always great.
Because there were two standouts. So I'm going to go ahead and read this one. This is a 1-star review. The title of this is Now I Know Directors Are Scammers. Sony also. The film shows that directors are not capable of making a sensible script, let alone dialogue. The film is a real scam to attract viewers to a movie that absolutely does not stick together and lacks any logic. I am very disappointed and angry. This film is a humiliation of modern cinema and is simply stealing money. To be honest, I couldn't even imagine that the directors are just scammers who have come up with a script, drugs? Question mark? And are doing everything possible to simplify it. The characters can't talk. They get traumatized. They just film in bushes and monsters are taken from quiet place, etc. I don't know what that means.
Oh, okay. Well,
also,
I know what he's referencing. Okay.
Okay. Oh, from the Quiet Place.
Yes.
That's what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
From the
These
Quiet
guys
Place.
actually
The
wrote-
writers of the Quiet Place. Okay, got it. So then he says, also, using children in movies is pure exploitation. Using children in movies is pure exploitation.
Jesus, I can't believe we still have movies with people like this in the world.
Okay. Yeah. This one's funny. This is why I kept it.
Oh, you have
This,
another one?
I told you I have two
Okay.
because I couldn't decide which one, and I thought they were both fabulous.
Okay,
So
I knew that.
this one is also a 1-star review, and this guy says,
Still trying to process the last one, to be honest.
"Oh,
with you.
you'll love this one. It's funny." So this guy's title is, "I wish I could have left my flight midway at 30,000 feet." He says, "This was a free movie provided on my JetBlue flight. The crew likely would have not let me jump out of the plane mid-flight,
my
as that
God.
option is not available. This made my flight, though. The flight crew will not sell you enough adult beverages to numb the pain while sitting in the more room seating, waiting for this film to redeem itself. I don't blame JetBlue. Perhaps they should let JetBlue Mosaic members preview the memories. This way, they can reduce the amount of barf bags needed per flight. Or they could let us fly in a B-52 bomber so they can open bomb bay doors for those of us that can't stand the torture of a really, really bad movie."
Wow.
Those are the two 1-star reviews I chose and the one 10-star review I chose.
Let's just boil this down. One guy is saying this is some kind of child abuse, and the other guy is saying this is suicide worthy.
Yes.
Wow.
And the other one is saying that this is the most emotions he ever felt in his life.
I'm going to invite this second guy over to watch The Bog and see if he
Yeah.
wants to jump out the window.
Let me
after
tell
watching
you,
this.
have you ever heard of Ilsa?
Yeah,
Like,
she-woman
wolf-
of the SS.
She-wolf
She-wolf
of the SS. Yeah,
Or,
try watching that. Try watching
Necromantic.
Necromantic. Or why don't you try and sit through
Name it. Food fight.
what's the one that Aaron put on? The one with the Zeta 1.
Zeta
Try
1.
to sit through Zeta 1 or The Amazing Bulk or Food Fight.
At least
I
Amazing Bulk can
cannot-
laugh, but
You want to talk about a bad movie? I don't think that there's... I gotta tell you, you've never seen a bad movie, sir, okay?
this is what I'm saying. This is exactly what I'm saying.
Give
Like,
this a 1?
to give this a 10 or a 1. Look, I'm going to say this. To give this a 1 through a 4 or a 8 to a 10 is insane. Like, I can understand this guy loved it enough where he's like, I really resonated with, I resonated with the characters and I felt the emotion of what they were trying to get at with the fatherhood and and needing a father.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand if he got emotionally attached to that, but he needs to know it's in a straightforward film. Like, it's not groundbreaking. It isn't a movie like it's it's not something that people are going to be oh my god, did you see this 65? It's like no. So it's not even close to that level. It's that's ridiculous. And to say that it's a 1, now I get it. Like reviews, everybody's different. Everybody sees something different. But to say you want to commit suicide because you watched 65.
I mean, you want to talk about
I mean, like, I have watched bad movies, and I wanted to run away screaming a couple times.
Yes.
But I have never said, you know what, I wish I could jump out of this airplane right now.
I mean, that's a bit much.
I mean, holy shit.
We sat through. I mean, I can't tell you how many countless times I would say, I hate you, Jeff, because of the trash that Jeff picks.
I don't think I've ever seen anything that I was like...
But I can never, ever say that I wanted to leave my own house because I'm watching this bad movie. Like, this guy's saying he wants to jump out of a plane. It's a bit extra.
Yeah, and this is why you can't ever... I love, like, a lot of people complain about, all these score systems and Metacritic and all that. It evens itself out. Like, I know a lot of people don't see that because there's always the 1s and there's always the 10s. And then there's the people who really rate it. And it finds a way to still even out in the right way. Mm-hmm. I can see why this might have a middling score on a lot of these sites. But the fact that people keep rating things 1s and 10s really does hurt the system, but it still finds a way to make sense. But yeah, that kind of shit just really aggravates the hell out of me.
The guy jumping out of a plane, I think he was just saying that for just to be funny.
I think he's trying to be funny, but
it's
not working.
The other schlub saying that children shouldn't work in movies. Like, what are you gonna do? De-age George Clooney and make him a girl and put him in the movie?
Well, no, you can't do that either because you're taking it away from
That's right. There's a freaking strike
else
going on. But I gotta say, I really just. These reviewers, I'm not saying that you and I are the best reviewers. It's all, art is subjective and it's what you feel you like and, how you feel about things. But and I'm not ever tearing anyone down over their ideas and their ideals and their beliefs and whatever. If that's what you feel about it, that's what you feel about it. But I think just going that extra mile to write that down on IMDb, it's kind of, it makes you look like a little bit of a clown. I mean, come on now.
You're like, I don't want to knock this guy. You're a fucking clown, sir.
You know what? No,
Look.
That's what you feel, fine.
Yeah.
If that's what you feel, but to go that extra mile, to write that down on IMDb, I mean, these people reading that review are like, come on, man.
I wonder how many ups and down votes it has.
Oh, Jesus
you can actually
Christ.
see that. But I will say this. Everybody listening, it's okay to think something's okay. It's okay to have gray areas in everything in life. You don't need to always be like perfect or the worst.
Yeah.
It's okay. And with that being said, what are we rating this movie?
Okay, so this was not obviously not the worst thing that we have ever seen.
Definitely not.
I was able to get through it without feeling like I was like, ugh. I didn't have the ugh thing where I just wanted to shut it off.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. I'm going to say that this movie is a solid 4.
Whoa. Oh, we're totally on different ends of the spectrum.
I thought that it was fine.
Wait, you think a 4 is fine?
I mean, it was okay. I mean, there was a lot.
I'm actually shocked.
There was a lot of it that was like, okay, like we saw this coming.
So you definitely think this is talking trash?
I mean, do I think it's I don't know. I mean, I guess it's mediocre. I guess I'm going to go 5.
Well,
it's mediocre. It really, I didn't have the, oh my God, turn this off or I'm getting pissed off. And I wasn't annoyed by the characters. I was annoyed a little bit by the, idea that the little girl couldn't speak English. And I thought that the dinosaurs were just fine. But there's too much of elements of other things in this. I'm going to go 5. That's solid.
Well, I'm buried the lead a little bit there, but I'm giving this a 6. I actually think that this movie is not terrible. I think it's just fine. I think that the special effects are pretty decent. I think that Adam Driver is doing way better than a job than the movie actually deserves.
Yeah.
I don't think the premise is the worst, even though it's like I've seen this, done that. paint by numbers type of scripting or logical gaps that are ridiculous. I didn't think it was bad, and I didn't hate watching it. I wasn't bored. It kept me involved, and so I don't mind it.
Yeah.
And I've seen mediocre films where I'll forget it in a week. I'm gonna remember Adam Driver shooting a dinosaur.
I mean, see, that's the
I'm
thing.
always gonna remember that it exists.
I'm not with you on that. I think okay. So I am going to elevate this to a 5. I am. It was okay. It was a fine movie. It didn't do anything for me in terms of like, ooh, oh my God,
Yeah.
It didn't stimulate me to the fact that I was like, oh, this movie's rad. It was a mediocre film. It didn't do anything that was overly impressive, except for the dinosaur face melting. That was fun. But otherwise,
Yeah, I kind of like that. I kind of like the cheese of that.
Yeah.
That was actually fun.
the dinosaur
There's also a
face
couple
melting
other things that were fun too. There was like bugs in people's mouths. He slapped one on the back of his neck that
That's
reminded me of
gross.
the movie Caveman. There was
Yeah.
little things here and there, and I actually thought Adam Driver was doing some good work with the lead actress. Like I thought that they worked off each other fine enough.
They were fine. Like
Yeah.
I didn't feel like, oh, this is a really good, chemistry here. Like I liked them because she couldn't even communicate with him. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say that this is a mediocre film. This is not as bad as everyone is making it out to
No,
be.
no,
I mean, it
not
is
at all.
not
No.
that bad. It was a mediocre film, and so I'm gonna have to give it a 5. It's definitely not as low as a 4.
You're definitely at least 5 steps away from suicide off an airplane. is what you're saying to me. I just want to know your suicidal level to
Well, let's see.
your airplane
okay. Well,
dive.
I'm
35,000 feet dive.
not ready to hurl myself out right
Ridiculous.
now.
I mean, that's crazy. And you're not in tears.
I'm
And
not
you're-
in tears.
And you
I'm
did
not.
watch it with somebody,
Yes, and
so you're lucky.
I am not
And
an
you were real
emotional
good
wreck.
the whole time.
If this movie didn't hit me in any feels. I mean, yeah, it was sad that his kid died, but I mean, it didn't go that extra mile. She wasn't in the movie enough for us to even really focus on her. We cared, but we didn't focus on her. And it was just bizarre how they just had this new girl come in and she didn't even really know how to communicate, which threw a wrench in everything. So yeah, I'm gonna say that I think this is mediocre, but I don't agree with these fools throwing themselves out of planes and shit. Come on. Yeah, that's right. I said fool because that's a stupid review.
What a trip.
Now I'm cutting you up.
now
Now
I'm
I'm
ta-
mad.
I'm coming for you.
Now I'm coming for you. I ain't scared.
The good old days we can comment on someone else's comment. I love that stuff.
I know. No, I'm not. Whatever. He had the experience he had, or it could be a
I
fake
would've-
review. It just could be a fake one.
If we
Who
were
knows?
still able to write on people's reviews, I would have wrote, "Are you okay?" And I would have put the suicide hotline
Oh
right
my
there.
God.
Please don't watch the number 43 or whatever the hell that movie was called.
Oh God.
Or whatever. I'm afraid of what he's going to see
Oh my
next.
God. You want to watch a sad, cry-worthy movie? Put on The Color Purple or Steel Magnolias or something. It's like, this movie is not a tearjerker type of film. I mean, I don't care if you're a dad, a grandma, a grandpappy, or whatever. This don't hit you in the feels like that. I mean, maybe I'm just a different person, but
I enjoyed
mean-
this. Like, I actually thought I was going to absolutely hate this, and I thought this was going to be talking trash, like goofy, so bad it's good.
yeah.
And I was like, this ain't bad.
It's
This
like,
is all right.
I don't know. It's not really talking trash, but it's talking trash a
Well,
little bit.
we're kind of trash talking to reviewers, and I think that's
I'm
what
sorry.
our new aspect of this is going
I
to
don't
be.
want to be that person. I'm not that person. I just feel like it's a little bit extra, and that's why I picked out those three reviews, the 110 and the 2 1s, because I thought they were just a bit over the top. They just went that extra mile. It's like, just watch The Color Purple if you want to fucking, be sad. This movie is not that movie. This movie is not sad.
I mean,
it was
yeah.
a mediocre film. It was all right.
I'm glad we finally watched it.
Same.
I didn't. Yeah. And I actually thought this was going to be one of the worst movies of 2023. So I'm kind of shocked that I've been enjoying everything, even the ones that people have hated this year. I'm like, damn, it ain't that bad. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll show you some bad movies if you want. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I really thought there was gonna be more ridiculousness in this movie, where
I did
like
too. I was
we were gonna
waiting
be
for
like,
something.
oh, you know, bah
thought-
ha ha. What is that? What is this?
I was a little worried, and I didn't talk about this, but I thought that the little girl was actually gonna be a caveman. Because I saw she couldn't
Why?
speak English, and I was like, why wouldn't she be
What?
able to speak
Oh,
English?
no, if
And then
they
I was
did
like,
that-
oh, is she a caveman?
Oh Jesus!
And is he gonna get hurt to their caveman people and the asteroid's gonna come? I'm like, there wasn't cavemen, with them back then.
A caveman who wears
It
a
wasn't the
life
Flintstones.
preserver. She had on a life preserver like Marty
I
McFly.
was afraid. I didn't know what this movie was gonna be, and I was like, I kind of hope she is a caveman.
Those puppy vests will forever be known as life preservers.
They are, yeah, they're forever. All right, so that was our episode on whatever the movie's called, 65.
65.
Yeah, thanks for listening, and as always, please share your point of view on our Instagrams. I am just another movie night on Instagram, and Joe runs the Crafty Misfit over there, and we would love to hear your thoughts on any movies. And always, please tell me your worst movie.
I really want to hear it.
I'm making a checklist of all the movies that people keep telling me are the worst movies, and I will be watching them, and they'll probably be on this podcast. And I'm going to tell you, I got one recently, and I think we should do what we did today with 65 on that film. So that might be something to work on in the future. But every time someone gives me one, I love to hear it. Please give us one. But yeah, thanks for listening, and till the next time, have a good one.